Yep, they did. Dan Campbell, I thought he was, I'll be honest, kind of a meathead, biting kneecaps in his first press conference in the history of calling right, calling wrong. This is probably the most wrong I've ever been. He is literally, as Baker Mayfield is a perfect fit for Tampa, Dan Campbell should be the Lions head coach forever. He is a home run. And I'm telling you, you get him at home on a fast track, nobody's touching him.
Wow. That's the end of the segment. Wow. The most wrong Colin has ever been. It's interesting to hear him say that. I can't believe he still brings up the biting the kneecaps. I mean, the fact that that they're just still going to keep bringing that up. Like, sometimes you just got to let things go. Sometimes you just got to move on, right? We can praise Dan Campbell, the Detroit Lions, and we don't have to talk about that year that Jared Goff struggled with the Los Angeles Rams, or when you didn't like Dan Campbell's press conference. Like, it's 2025. It's going to be 2026. Like, we can move on, right? I think we can move on and just focus on what's in front of us. I do think this game perfectly showed the culture of the Detroit Lions, and how close, how they're right there. And I just think it's such an exciting place to be. And I think with the Detroit Lions right now, there was this idea that this window was closing, however you want to even define the window, and for why it was closing. But the reality is that the culture always has the potential to live out the roster itself. Amon-Ra St. Brown, Gibbs, Goff, they're all special. They're all great. And they've been an absolute joy to watch. But you will continue to start bringing in new players. There's players who you don't even know yet one day are going to be a huge part. I don't mean like 10 years from now. I mean like 2 years from now, 3 years from now. You're going to be like that guy. And that gets passed on through Amon-Ra St. Brown, through Gibbs, through Montgomery, through Jared Goff, through obviously Dan Campbell. Like it's this bridge to each other. Something that the Eagles have done very well for years. They have been very smart with getting this young. They've always had this perfect bridge between seasoned veterans, players who are older, who are entering their seasoned veteranship, the young players. It's why they could bring in a rougher around the edges of a Jalen Carter or whatnot. Why they can why they can endure someone who's considered a diva or whatever it is. They can bring in a Saquon. Like they've done it very, very well. And not all teams have that ability to do that. And to be fair, the Chiefs don't rely on that, honestly. The Chiefs' core identity is just Andy, Mahomes, and Spags. Like, that's what it is. And by extension, Kelsey to a bit. But there's not this, like, big culture. The Patriots have relied on it during their dynasty. And I feel as though that's what the Lions have now as well. It's just this, when you come here, there is the Lions way to play football. And it's interesting because that's what I would always hear from Raiders. It's the Raider way. It's the Raider way. And I would think to myself, it doesn't make sense. And it doesn't matter. The Raiders have been awful. You've been awful for so long. I don't care what the Raider way was. That means nothing to me at this point. Same thing with the Chicago Bears. We're all about defense and this. And it's like, that's great. That's awesome. What has that done for you in the last 20 years? Oh, nothing? Well, then I don't care. Then I don't care. But the Lions way will stand to the test of time. It will stand forever because we just go so hard, man. If you're here to play football. You are here to just get after it. Just get after it. And it actually reminds me of like a breakup video, actually. by Jocko, a retired like U.S. Navy SEAL, and he's like a podcaster and all of that. And he's just you have to look it up yourself. Where he just is just like when you're going through a breakup, and he's like, you just gotta get after it. And it's like I've listened to it myself, and it's like gets you all inspired and motivated. And I told you guys before, I still have it saved on my phone, the Amon-Ra St. Brown clip of just like where he's like screaming, "I'm built for this" after a touchdown. And it just the Lion style play just fires me up so much. It just fires me so much. It's why I always shout out to Lions fans. I'm like, guys, like, please subscribe, please, watch the full length of the videos, please, do that. Because when you guys do that, I know I'm a broken record. Like, this is what happens. We go vertical. We add, hundreds and hundreds of subscribers and get tens of thousands of views. And like having an army of Lions fans, like there's some fan bases that I want to grow because I want to have the freedom and flexibility. Like I want to be able to make videos about the Patriots and the Jags and, fan bases that don't necessarily always show up and whatnot. And, the Lions, especially last year, was just like, there was just such an avalanche of just energy there and so much hype. And, it's every season's going to be a different, and I'm trying to recapture that with the Lions fans. But, there's a handful of fan bases that really connect, that really resonate with me individually, personally. And it's very much the Lions, very much the Eagles, the Commanders. Like there's various fan bases that you just see the passion, you see the energy, you see the hunger, you see the intensity and just the love. You saw it in this game, the fans, it's just, I love it. I live for it. I live for the intensity. I live for the passion. It's why, even though they weren't even playing well at the time when they were on Hard Knocks, like one of my favorite seasons was with the Detroit Lions. And you're just like, while I was watching that season, more than any other time, was I genuinely envious of like, why can't I be on a team right now? Like I just missed those days so badly. And actually that season specifically, I was like, I'm going to work out while I watch it. Cause I couldn't just sit on a couch and just watch it. I couldn't just like casually lay back and watch the Detroit Lions Hard Knocks. I just couldn't. I was like, I got to work out. I got to do something. I got to lift weights. I got to get after it. And actually, honestly, like watching that season made me angry that I wasn't doing enough in my own, it was before this channel. I was like, but I wasn't doing enough in my own life. And I was like, I was frustrated. I was angry. And I was just like, oh, I felt so limited. I was just irked and angry, and like that's like, it's just the hard work. It's just putting in the work, and that's what I just love about this Lions team so much. It just speaks to me, and I think it speaks to a lot of people, and that's why they're the most viewed team right now. Everyone thinks it's just the Chiefs. It's actually the Detroit Lions. They're the most viewed team in the NFL. The Detroit Lions. And their colors. I love those uniforms, man. They're just dirty. Yeah. The question remains, are the Lions the best team in the NFC? I'll be honest, I don't know what that means right now. I've been so honest and so repetitive about this. We are in peak any given Sunday. I'd love to see the Lions and the Chiefs. I don't want to be like a situation where you're like, well, in the Super Bowl. I mean, like literally just hit the reset button and play that game again. This week you have that game. I'd love to know. I'd love to know what that game would look like. Because it was such a weirdly specific game for the Detroit Lions. And I do think when they had the changing of the coaches and whatnot, there's always going to be some slivers of doubt. There's always going to be some, there's times that whether I was playing, whether I just even have a take here, that I make a video that I'm like, man, I nailed that. I was so correct. Whether it was a prediction, whether it was just an analysis of a game, I troubleshooted or problem solved why I thought something was going wrong, and it ended up being, incredibly accurate, that other people that I really respect agreed and whatnot. And then I'm like, oh wow, I got that right. And my immediate afterthought is like, oh man, will I ever be able to do it again? Will I ever be that accurate again? Like, oh yeah, I was really right about that, but like, I don't know, man. I'm going to go on a run where I'm just going to get everything wrong now, and it's just like, because I feel that pressure. And it was the same thing when I was playing. I have a great game, and there's a feeling of like, okay, we'll do it again, and then do it again, and then do it again, and then again, and again, and again, and again. And I think with the Lions, you're naturally going to have some of that doubt. You're going to have some of that naturally creep in. And it was up to Dan Campbell to constantly just be like, no, 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 no. Enough of any of that outside noise. We know what we're capable of doing. We just got to keep going. We got to keep going. And that's why like a loss against the Bucs the other night really did have the potential to really derail things. Really derail things. And things, these athletes, it can get derailed easier than you would think. And then you do start to think like, man, it's not the same. We're not as good as we were in 23. We're not as good as we were in 24. Like we just don't have it. And it's just, you feel it. You feel it. The athletes will admit it. They'll say quarterbacks will say, yeah, just I wasn't as good as I wanted to be last year. I got to be better this coming season. I got to be better next season. Like they know better than anyone that it's not always the same. They're the ones that are playing, basketball players, quarterbacks, like they know, since their level of performance can be so much more variable than say a running back or a wide receiver, because like obviously a basketball player is shooting and a quarterback is throwing. Like there's a sheer volume that you can just, and they're more in control of their play itself than, again, say an offensive lineman or a safety or something, that they know better than anyone. I got it today or I don't. They're most running backs, most wide receivers think they got it all the time, 365, 24/7. It's always there. But quarterbacks, basketball players, baseball players, especially as well, they just know. Sometimes they're on, sometimes they're not. Sometimes they're seeing the field perfectly, sometimes they're not. Sometimes they're just accurate and they can just drop it in the bucket. And sometimes it's just like, man, I'll be lucky if I could throw a 5-yard pass accurately. And it's just you get some of that variability, and that is where a voice like Dan Campbell's can really shine, where it's just this relentless, like, let's go, move forward, stay present, let's go, keep going, and it doesn't give you a chance to ever marinate in a failure or a success for that too long. And I think what they also do really well is that they celebrate their victories. But they celebrate their victories in a way of like, this is who we are, this is what we can do, let's get after it. Rather than saying, we're celebrating this victory and now it feels like we reached the top. You saw that with the Packers, talking about going undefeated and whatnot. You saw that with lots of other teams over the years. And the Lions, I think, really stick the landing with being able to get fired up from victories, and really just not have that somehow now get in their way. They celebrate beating a winless Panthers team as much as they celebrate beating an undefeated Kansas City Chiefs team. And I think there's a lot of value in that. I really do. I think there's a tremendous amount of value and belief that gets built up, and just kind of like an equalizing factor. And it's why they always show up to those bad, against those bad teams. It's why they always show up. Like I don't know if the Lions ever really truly have a trap game in that regard. And that's why I pushed back so heavily when Nick was like, I don't know if the Lions are going to be able to bounce back after that loss. They seem to be going unraveled. And I was just like, that's insane. Like that's absurd to me. If they continue to lose, then sure, we can have that conversation. But like, you're not going to tell me that a singular loss against the Kansas City Chiefs and they're frustrated about this or that's now just going to be like, oh, they're done now. Like, that was always insane to me. That never made any, like, that's such a that's like, to me, that's like, well, I have to have a take, so I'll share this. And it's like, that's a forced take to me. There's no real actual reason to believe that. None. Zero. They've never given us any frame of reference as to why that would be even remotely on the table. So it is interesting to hear all the takes right now about the Lions, and Colin right now just can't be any more positive about them. And it's just funny to me, and this is why I am saying, like, let's all just chill for a second. I don't feel the need to have to, plant the flag on any team that's right now as being the one to rule them all, because just a few weeks ago, it was the Chiefs are bad, and their Super Bowl window has closed, and the dynasty is over. And for the Detroit Lions, it was their window is closed, and now they're done. And now, fast forward a few weeks later, the Kansas City Chiefs are the best team in the NFL, and the Detroit Lions, it's the Kansas City Chiefs and the Detroit Lions are the two best teams. And it's just like, it just is what it is. So, make no mistake about it. The Lions lose to, let's say the Lions lose, I don't remember exactly what their schedule is, but let's just say they lose to the Eagles and the Bills or something, or, another top team. We have to be honest about this. The Lions only beat one good team, and Baker really had a really bad game, and they were really injured, and the Ravens were really, when they played the Chiefs, didn't look like that. And when they played the Eagles and the Bills, didn't look like that. And it would it's like that's what then becomes the conversation. So I'm just trying to be able to have these conversations without constantly opening up the door for that. And if that ends up being the reality of the Detroit Lions, which I'm not saying it is, it's like I still just want to be able to have a conversation that's just a little bit more even keeled, rather than they win a game and it's like they're the best team in the NFL, let's go, they're unstoppable, and they lose a game or struggle in a game and it's like, they're not good. This season's over. Time to move on. Maybe they should try to move on from Jared Goff, and they can draft, whoever. And it's just like, I don't know. It's just, there's been a lot of whiplash this season. More so than I think also last year. Really crazy whiplash. Like Colin said, it was predictable that the Lions were going to roll the Bucs, when the Bucs were being rolled out as being the top team and Baker being the MVP. So then, like, how is that predictable? And the Lions were just like, they just didn't have it, and they were unraveling against the Chiefs. So, like, I don't know. How do you guys keep up? Honestly, I'm curious. How do you guys keep up? I struggle. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about the Detroit Lions? Do you believe that they're the best team in the NFC? Do you think they're the best team in the NFL? Do you think we're on a one-way path to a Chiefs-Lions Super Bowl? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment. So whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions. Let's get in some fights. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. Please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here. I absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to. Something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're well on our way to doing it. Please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. It really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.